So generalization is something that nobody can escape. It is a fabric of our conceptualization of the world. Now, the difference between us and others is that we either aware of it or not. So if you're sitting with your client and you're a therapist or you give nasiha, you being halil, look out for those generalizations because they are the first thing to go. These are the blockages for people to develop, for people to move on, for people to start being closer to their true self. Generalizations are borrowed sometimes, but generalization also are a habit of thinking. It happens when we apply something learned, and as I said, we can habituate it for ourselves, or we can habituate it, like borrow it from others, people who are habituated that way of thinking and approaching. So this is when you're applying something learned in a specific situation to other similar situations. And in that way you applying the same rules to maybe two different situations, but just because they say similar, by making generalization, you are finding it maybe easier to, I don't know, to deal with situation, whatever that situation is. And other people, they could call it a carry over, because this process, this progress is helping us to see how important the real world influence is on us. So as a therapist, you might work with clients to resolve anxieties, and there are different stages of working with anxieties. Like you work on triggers, or you explore stimuli. Let's say, I don't know, somebody has OCD, so you're exploring that. While the client might imagine feared situation, meaning that you are explaining to them to relax, and that become more helpful. You might also build on that. They learned how to become calm, and that is reducing the anxieties for the future. Now, when we make generalization, it is in order for us to avoid deep thinking. In a sense, we stay ignorant to the subject. Our minds are habitual, so we don't want to give ourselves effort on everyday basis. Can you imagine reanalyzing every step you take? It's just not possible. But when you get yourself to generalization, then the problem you might find personally, or the problem you might find with your client, is that they're going into overgeneralization and they're producing sentences like, all men are the same, or all women are the same. This is overgeneralization, and it is reinforcing negative outlook of life. It become as defensive mechanism based on the experience with one person and maybe with two people, but not every man will hurt, not every woman are the same. So you want to actually challenge that for your client. So this is where mainstream stays in terms of generalization. They want to look out at your psychological processing. Now, in terms of stereotypes or racial attitudes, or any types of prejudice, we as an Islamic counselors, we want to refer it back to justice, meaning al-adl. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most just, and he is hasty in terms of generalization. How do we know that? Well, we know that because he's all upon the justice for this world and the Akhirah as well. Now, the justice demands from a person, from you and me, doing well, providing solutions with khair to our lives, but also advising it to others, and project ourselves, show up in relationships as a just people. So from that perspective, you cannot afford to put any generalization on any nation. We know from Hadith that no Arab is better than non-Arab, and non-Arabs are better than Arabs. We know from Quran that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us that, "O you who believe, be the upholder of justice, bearing witness for Allah's alone, even against yourself or your parents and relatives. Whether they are rich or poor, Allah is well able to look after them. So do not follow your own desires and deviate from the truth. If you twist or turn away, Allah is aware of what you do." So any acts of injustice and generalization is probably falling into that category, are conceptualized as an injustice towards other person, towards yourself. Look what Quran says: against your own self, and an act of disobedience, or an act of going against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes and loves. So if we are having any attitudes towards people, we have to be absolutely that conscious and honest with ourselves. Where is that coming from? Ask yourself question, where is that coming from? Am I being just here to that person, or am I making generalization? Or even worse, am I turning into injustice, meaning for justice or racism and so forth? And Quran guide us as well in terms of maybe solutions to those less desirable traits of character. He says, Allah does not forbid you from being good to those who have not fought in your deen, or driven you from your home, or from being just towards them. Allah loves those who are just. Allah merely forbids you from taking as friends those who have fought you in religion and driven you from homes, and who supported your expulsion. Any who take them as a friends are the wrongdoers. So in this ayah, in terms of generalization and al-adl, we see that the best prescription for us in terms of influence and keeping the upright approach to life, the healthy approach to life, without generalization or overgeneralization, is to surround ourselves with alike social circles. So you want to surround yourself with people who are conscious of themselves and who are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because then you will see them avoiding statements, even backbiting and arrogance. And as I already mentioned at the beginning of the session, it is very difficult not to fall into those habits of generalization, because our brains work that way. They like shortcuts, right? So if you surround yourself, meaning you continue conditioning of yourself by your closest surrounding, by your closest environment, therefore you have closer chance to become just, you be upon another and avoid generalization. All right, I hope that makes sense. Don't forget to sign into my channel, AGS Therapy, for more videos like this. I see you next time. This was Aisha.